All right, all right, all right. Here, hello, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are today. But welcome to the first episode of the Coffee Shop Talk with your girl, Shernita. And you know, anytime that I get on, I am ready to really talk about some amazing issues, to talk to the unsung heroes, to take you a little deeper into some conversations that I think need to be had. So, as always, we're still doing a virtual platform right now, and I'm super excited about the two guests that I have on tonight. But the first guest, if you follow me a couple of years ago, we had him on my show. It was the Purposeful Living for Life's Journey show, and he shared about a project that he was working on at that time. And we'll kind of touch bases on that again tonight. But welcome to the launch of the Coffee Shop Talk with your girl. Okay, Shernita. So if you have your coffee, you know that coffee is not just for morning. I want to have conversations with you that awaken your soul. So without further ado, I'm going to share a few clips of this amazing individual, and then I'm going to bring him in the first half of this show, and we're going to talk about the controversial things that he has done in film. And a lot of people, you know, as actors, a lot of actors determine what parts they would play based off what they think their abilities are to do or to carry out that character. And if you're in entertainment, you know that you have to be believable. And it also means you got to be, you know, mindful of the type of characters that you want to portray. Simply, you know, most times to get your message across or whatever it is that you want to be able to do. So tonight, our main topic is dealing with the era of the new Black Reconstruction. And what I mean by that, I'm just going to give you a quick little background of that before I bring our special guest in for the first half. But if you know anything about the Reconstruction era, that was the period in American history that lasted about from 1865 to 1877 after this American Civil War. Now, if you know anything about the Civil War, you know that was controversial within itself. And it marked a significant chapter in the history of the civil rights here in the United States, of course. During the Reconstruction, there was a 12-year period that following the Civil War that we had lawlessness and violence was perpetrated by white individuals. It created pretty much the future that we dealt with the racial hierarchy of white supremacy and the Jim Crow laws. So it was an era in which our nation, believe it or not, still has yet to recover on. So without further ado, I'm going to share some clips of what this actor has been in. And these are just a few. You can go on his IMDb for other things that he's done. So I don't want you to be just limited in what you see right here. And
nigga, that wasn't the deal.
Hey, don't start that with me, motherfucker, because I don't play that shit. That's what I'm paying. You better check your tone. Get the fuck up out of my office before I go get the heater.
Come this Thursday, I'll have a truckload full of harvested cane that'll be worthless if it ain't grinded ASAP. Can't be no machine problems. This is my life.
You're talking way above my pay grade. They need to close down this kitchen until you get reliable refrigeration units. That's what's going in my report anyway.
Got it.
Hey, where's Smoke at, man?
What are you talking about?
Might as well get fucked up. I gotta listen to all this bullshit. So break out the smoke, man.
War might be over, but some white man ain't never gonna let it go. Ain't never gonna accept us being free.
Who's this? Protection. The atmosphere is toxic.
Oh, my son's in there.
All right, without further ado, will you help me to welcome Mr. Lucius Baston? Did I get it right?
Yes, you did. I call it the French variation of what my family actually says. That's right. How are you?
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm excited to have you back on the show again. Those are just a few clips, and we know, we're not worried about the language. Kids hear more than that. But the main thing are the characters, the range of characters that you've been able to portray. And now the latest one, and I've been following you for a minute. So every time you pop, hey, I'm on this, I'm like, okay, let me write this down. Let me make sure I go and watch this, because I know it's going to be a great production or film or whatever it is that you're involved in. The Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad. Now, I know some people are saying, okay, but we've seen that. We've done that. You all have not seen it like this. I promise you. I was so drawn into it. I was binging. I'd be this is the last episode right here, and I'm gonna go to sleep, because it was so good. But and I'm gonna share, put it up on the screen. The Underground Railroad. We have Mr. Lucius Baston, who is in several of the episodes, and I'm going to share some clips of him, and then we're going to start the discussion from there. All right, y'all ready? Are they ready? Are they ready?
All right.
All right, let's do this. All right, guys.
Man, not pretend you care what a nigga thinks of you, Terrence. Yeah, you got me there. Let's get this parlor trick over with, dear brother. I don't care to endure this stench much longer. Prideful! Prideful? My brother tells me about a nigga he has down here, this side of the property. Says the boy can recite the Declaration of Independence. Can't bring myself to believe him. I thought perhaps tonight he could show me, since everyone is out and about and engaging in revelry. Prideful? I'll go bring me the boy who can recite the Declaration. Michael? The boy with the scar right around here? Sorry, sir, but boy Michael dead and gone. Sickness took him. When? 6, 7 months ago. I should have been told. Brother, you need to keep better account of your problem. This boy can do it. He and Michael be together all the time. Let him do it. Well, come on, boy, let's hear it. Do his master sing. Get us all, kid.
Okay. Apologize for technical difficulties. You know how the streaming, it works well before you get it in. But what you all saw here was Prideful. One of his first scenes, that he was expected to expose a young man that was able to recite what most whites did not want us reciting. They didn't. That mean you reciting it, there was a probability you probably could read, and of course that was a no-no. And you see the character Prideful having to obey not just his master, but his master's brother. Okay, so this was an errand. As you can see, they were out having a good time, and I'm not going to give it away because the key is I want you to go and watch this. But you see here a man that had to do what he was told, and you could tell the hesitance at the beginning of it, and then it's like it clicks in. Okay, I better do this, because if not only am I going to get in trouble, but others could get in trouble. Now, let's open up the dialogue. How, first of all, did it feel to play this character, knowing all of the things that he had to do that might have seemed a little controversial to others around him?
Well, there's a duality to that whole thing, as you were explaining. It's survival. You know, that's the basic thing that's going on in that. Um, he had to do something, or and you got to imagine he's already been on the plantation for years. That's
Mm-hmm.
all he's known. You know what I mean? And he's kind of at some point you get to see. Yeah, I don't want to get that part away, but he just takes a bigger position, but with the role that he has to play there, it was tough. Um, it was tough because now I'm actually sitting in the layer of that skin now, and even though yes, we're there on set and all of that, but with the actual slave houses there and the actual plantations and the realism of how everything looks and sounds. And of course, as an actor, you know, you are reaching into something that's real to you. Um, Oppression is still very real,
Yeah.
you know, unfortunately. And so that's that rock in the hard place. And, and when Kanye had said a comment about, they had a choice, he's
Mm.
actually not very wrong. Yeah, you did have a choice, but that choice was going to be a very hard choice, that
Exactly.
life or death.
Exactly. Exactly. So I can't even imagine, and I say this all the time. I'm glad I was not born in that era. Because it's easy for us to say what we would have done,
Always,
of
always.
course, until
You
you're
would
in that situation.
you would have done what they've done.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And,
What prideful,
and,
you
and,
know,
yeah, that's
exactly what he had
exactly
to
it.
do.
That's why it lasted so long. Because if everybody wouldn't have done it, then I guess it would never have existed as long as it did.
Exactly. So my thing is, I always believe in that. In order for us to make have any part in change, we have to tackle the painful truth of our history.
Yeah.
We cannot forget our history. We've heard the cliche, to forget where you've been is not to be able to know where you're headed.
Hmm.
It's an ability to repeat what has happened. Of course, we know our children and our grandchildren didn't deal with those type of things in that manner, maybe even as some of the stuff that we did, but in order to deal with the racial injustices, we have to look at the legacy that was left behind, because you have to stop and think, why are movies like this still relevant
Yeah.
today? Because we're
And
still dealing with. So having said that, knowing with all the things we know, we just can't, we're still I would say maybe at the end of this pandemic. But during the pandemic, before, let's backtrack right here, before you did, went into this part, how did you prepare? How were you prepared for what you dealt with? And did that in some kind of sense help you prepare for your roles?
um, interesting enough, there wasn't a lot I needed to do, internally, because I know what this is. We all, as black men in America, know what this is, because we're still watching it right on TV. That's getting gunned down in the streets. We're still watching, police killings. We're still
Exactly.
watching. We're still having the trauma of gang violence in our neighborhoods. So,
Exactly.
we're still watching the stuff. We haven't escaped it. Our country hasn't escaped the pain and trauma of that type of oppression, and then also the positions that it has put us in.
Okay. So I want to share another clip, and hopefully we can bring it in, and it'll play a little bit better than but the main thing is just for them to get the narrative. This is another scene from the Underground Railroad.
You think you can handle this whip?
Yes, sir.
All right, show me. Ezekiel! Have Thomas fetch me some more tobacco. Oh, now, if you can't handle it, I'm going to pull him down and have whoop you.
Okay. I know that may have been a little hard for some of you to watch, but I think it's important right here because here we see how the slave master used the other slaves to do their dirty work, so to speak. And again, what can you do? What do you do? But do what they tell you to do, or run the risk, like he said, if you don't do it right, I'm gonna have him, be taken down, and he's gonna turn around and do it to you, And so, again, without giving a storyline away, that particular character that you had to, take the reins in your hands, so to speak, and handle the whip, was also in a position. But after a certain incident happening, he was punished, and you had to be the one to punish him. In that scene, because when I saw you doing, I was like, I wonder what was Lucius thinking when he was doing that. How do you prepare for that role? Because I know you have to mentally get yourself in a position for roles, and you have to maintain so that your character is believable. How did you, what were your emotions and feelings going on there?
I think was just truth of the matter. Is that there's nothing I had to pretend about, if that makes sense. It's because I'm in a situation. A lot of times you'll see the hesitancy, which as you watch more of it, and you can see in some of my actions were hesitant, but still had to be obedient. You know what I mean? Because you got to remember, he loves his people too. But he's just in the situation, and that's what I say. The duality of that character is the same duality that we see in every day, between maybe not to the extreme of that, but between doing something you hate, like your job, but you gotta pay your bills. This is, of course, times 100, but
Yeah.
it's just one of those kinds of things that there's nothing pleasant about it. There was no taking joy in it. For instance, if you think about how in Django, right, where Sam Jackson's character was almost his character, like took pleasure in it. It seemed there was none of that in Prideful. There was not taking pride in being in that kind of situation. It's just survival at its core, and that's it.
Yeah, and I believe too is sort of like ability to dehumanize,
Absolutely,
each other, and to use and I can't even begin to imagine. And as we go into here later on, I'm going to bring on a young man that deals with and helps with men and mental health. But imagine the mental space, and I talk about that. What space did you? Because I again, this is a character. But in order to portray him, you have to put yourself in a place, like you said, it wasn't actually as hard as it seemed, because we still have some of these things going on today.
Yeah.
You're still dealing with those injustices. So I can't even imagine how hard that would be to, even though the white, cast that's on there, probably was just as hard for them to
Absolutely.
get into that. Kind of tell us
Absolutely.
a little bit about that part.
Well, I mean, because we're creators, we're artists and everything, but so everybody that's there, we have humanity in our hearts. So the good thing about it was Barry Jenkins was gracious enough to have a counselor on set, which is very important. So there was a couple of times during scenes I literally just broke down and had to walk away for about 5 minutes. And then afterwards I would talk to the counselor after the scene was shot. But we had an on-set counselor that made sure we were okay. Barry Jenkins was very generous with his time. He was even personally going to everybody, are you okay? Are you all right? Because we understand that we're experiencing trauma right in front of our eyes. We're bringing up everything that hurt us about being Black in America all our lives. We're watching it. We're recreating it. And that was the only thing that is your kind of like your safety net after that is that you get to leave it at the end of the night. You get to walk away from it. They unfortunately never got to walk away from it unless you were a runaway, like Cora, who's the main character.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, y'all, you have got to watch this series. I'm going to share a little commentary. You mentioned about Mr. Barry Jenkins, so let me share a little commentary, and hopefully that flows.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, sorry about that. Let's see if this is it right here. Didn't pop anything off. So we had some conversation with you, talking to, and I'm gonna just a second some of you talking behind the scenes. Tell us a little bit about Mr. Barry.
Barry's, as you can tell, is a cinematic genius. Um, I call the Underground Railroad like gorgeous pain, because the beauty that he brings visually, but to a story that can be hurtful, during the course of the journey. But I think what Barry was really good at is, because it's based off a Pulitzer Prize winning book like Colson Whitehead. He was really good at bringing that all to life, because he understood that we need to honor our ancestors no matter how painful it is. And guess what? They just weren't enslaved peoples. These were people that were in love. These were people that had families. These were people even that wanted to escape that environment, and which quite a few did, and made futures for themselves. Once they got away from that, and you're seeing all these things. So I think so when we're speaking to what Barry wanted to show, he wanted to show that we can't just erase that because it feels bad, because that's
Exactly.
not our shame, that's theirs.
Exactly. Okay, so I have the commentary right here.
Barry Jenkins is an incredible storyteller. He's able to keep everybody happy in even some of the most challenging moments.
His honesty, his integrity, and his hard work. With detail, you can't mimic that.
We have to remember where we came from. So these stories are extremely important.
For me to just be a part of that, I'm just honored. When you're around greatness, you start becoming great.
Okay. So that was yet another character that as you watch the film, you'll get a chance to see him. But again, you have an individual who is gifted in writing, directing, producing, bringing something to life, who chooses to do this narrative, to do this film, to bring it in a way that, from a different perspective, because most time when we hear about the Underground Railroad, who do we think about?
I'm thinking about Harriet Tubman, in which
Harriet Tubman.
this is not what this is about at all. This is actually a historical fantasy fiction
Yeah.
because when they go to run away, they're getting on actual trains. So,
Listen, I was like, because I was thinking, okay, that doesn't look like Harriet. I don't, because there was just a recent Underground Railroad or it was based off as Harriet Tubman that was done. But when I saw that it was taking it from a different perspective, that was so refreshing to me. Not taken away from, we know who she is. We definitely share that in history. But what about the other people? What about, and it's fictional, but in some aspects, you can kind of imagine what was their journey from one place to the other. That's what I love, the idea of that.
right.
How did you, when you began to read the script and saw it coming from that perspective, was that one of the things that made you want to be a part of it?
I read the book. So once I read the book, I was like, I couldn't even put the book down because this was astonishing the way it was done, and that Barry at the helm was able to bring this all to life. I think it showed the struggles, but it's still a love story. It showed the challenges, but what we got to really understand is that we're watching a victory story. Is what we're really watching. So we're not just watching oppression. We're watching, and what's also cool, they brought in elements of history, not that may be different from that time, but things that had been done to us, over the course of history, and they threw elements of these different parts of history into this time, which I thought was really amazing and well done. Like I said, it's very different than anything you've seen. It's not staying on the plantation. It's a journey through like 4 states, and Cora's on the run. And while Cora's on the run, Ridgway, who's a slave catcher, is hunting her down. So it's a really, really dope story. Really dope story.
Well, I hope that from this, many of the viewers that are on here will not only go to Amazon Prime and watch this series again, The Underground Railroad. And I'm going to show you the image again, so you make sure you're watching the right one, because we want you to make sure that you look it up. It's an Amazon original, The Underground Railroad, and it's on Prime Video. So we've been streaming apps like cray for over a year, and it's so many different things that are on there. But I want to shift a little bit, because you've done this, but there were other things that you've done. One of my favorites, and I'm waiting for the next season, Lovecraft Country.
Yeah.
If you're a suspense thriller or horror fanatic like myself, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. So I'm going to play just a short clip of you, and I'm going to show this with Lovecraft Country. And you guys, that's another film that he is a part of. If you haven't seen it, make sure. Let's watch.
Mama, we're going to Bobo's to read some comics. Bobo, you tell your mama to call me.
I will, ma'am.
Who's next messing with it, Brian?
Hold on for a second, Dad. It is a mechanical model of a solar system. It moves and predicts the relative position of planets. At least it's supposed to. This one's broken. I can't figure out how to get to the gears.
Well, it's a piece of work, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, there's one thing I do know. Every locked thing has its key. You'll find it.
So, your character here. Give us a little quick background for those who have not seen Lovecraft Country yet.
Yeah, he's a locksmith, actually works in the garage, and where you know, a couple of the characters that's where they store their car and everything. They live there as well. They live above the shop. But I was also a black business owner at the time. So which we did have when we did have our own stores and did have our own businesses, and so kind of that scene and that whole kind of setup is kind of about that,
Okay.
you know, and giving
So,
her some insight, a little bit of insight
yeah.
of what she might
And
be meddling with there.
And the thing is, what they don't see, and I'm going to share just a quick clip of that because I want people to understand the films that you're using, you're utilizing, being a part of, are showing variations of us throughout history, showing things that we have gone through as Black men and women and even children. I'm telling you, this series will keep your attention. Let's look at a clip from it.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This guy. Getting reacquainted with old friends. Uncle George, the reason I'm back home, my father, he's gone missing. 1, 2, 3. He wrote me. The place he wants me to go is in Lovecraft country. 1, 2, 3. This place. 1, 2, 3. Is dangerous.
I thought the world was one way and found out it isn't.
I haven't even gotten to the real strange part.
Okay, so that's just a little clip, trailer clip of Lovecraft Country. As you can see, the setting brings us a little bit forward, but again, we're dealing with racial injustices. You saw the police officer holding the gun. The characters go through some pretty harsh things mentally. You see that going on throughout the film. What would you share to someone who hasn't seen this series? What would you share to get them to watch it?
Oh man,
Why?
Lovecraft is an awesome ride. If you're, I'm a sci-fi guy, love science fiction, love horror. So I mean, when everybody tries to explain, so what is Lovecraft Country? It's like it's got so many elements wrapped up into what this is. It's just phenomenal for me. I just totally enjoyed it. So especially as a period piece, you know, you got the sci-fi, you got elements of horror, you got monsters, and and I think there's a really cool analogy there, or where it's like between these actual monsters and racism, which one's worse?
All right. So y'all, you've got to watch it. You've got to watch it. And this is the final clip of, and this is also a piece that you were a part of, but you had a little bit more background on it. It's just a recap for those who, if they remember when I had you on first, was dealing with 83 days.
My name's George Stingy Jr., but everybody calls me Junior.
Why they got a kid like you in here?
When I was 14 years old, Mommy had to protect me. They say I killed 2 white girls.
What did you do?
But I didn't. Nothing.
Are you you trying to tell me that we got the wrong guy? What's the truth? Well, I don't know. We got 2 little girls killed. And this town is going to want somebody to pay.
Where's your pa?
At the mill, sir.
Boy confessed.
You made him lie! I don't care how you do it, but you clean this mess up, and you do it fast.
So for those who may not have seen that film short yet, can you set the stage for that? And then after that, we're gonna talk about the mental health aspects of these films and why it's important for us to be creative in that. So tell us a little bit about 83 Days.
Well, 83 Days is the true story about George Denny Jr., who was the youngest person in American history in the 20th century to be put to death by the electric chair for crimes that he did not commit. It was about the murder of 2 young white girls. He saw the girls because they passed his place where he lived to look for flowers, and he just pointed the way. There was a search party that went out, and when he mentioned that he had saw the girls, all the blame shifted to him right away. And they snatched him up, threw him in jail. His family was ousted out of town. This was in 1944, so this was even before the Emmett Till murder went down. Family was run out of town, and then he never saw his family again. And from the time he was taken into custody, arraigned, trial, and put to death, was 83 days.
So where can they go to watch that particular film short?
I think that's at 83daysmovie.com. So that's still up online. Okay. I think it might be 83-movie or 83 hyphen movie, 83days-movie.com, something like that. It's been a minute.
Okay, so what would you say with those 3 characters that you dealt with? What would you say is how would a man, not only just back then, but today, would actually deal with that type of mental trauma, from prideful to the, I mean, let's talk about prideful. How mentally, if that was you, because remember you were temporarily him, that character, and you talk about y'all had to have a mental health counselor, coach on set to talk to kind of digress. How much of that did you take home with you?
I'm really good at the end of the day to leave it on set. I know there are some people that they stay in character the whole time. I had no desire to carry that with me, so that's why I got to applaud Tuso, the main character, who had to do so much and give so much of herself to the role she had to play. But for me, I got to leave it there, and then we come back the next day and do it again. But it does affect you, and it does stay with you, for a little while, because like I said, you're talking about things that are deep in the regresses of your subconscious. We all have some traumatic things that those kind of situations bring up. But fortunately, for me, it's like at the end of the day, let me listen to some good music. Let me get myself in a happy mode. Let me think about the things I'm grateful for. Let me let me honor the ancestors and say thank you to them because of everything they've gone through. I'm here to be able to tell their story. I know a lot of us are getting pissed off. I'm tired of Black trauma. I'm like, but you'll watch Boys in the Hood, and you'll watch all these other movies where we kill each other and all that, but you don't want to honor our ancestors. So I think that the issue is when we're saying we're tired of only watching that, what we're really saying is we want to see more stories of us engrossed in many other genres and doing different things and stories of triumph. That's what we're saying. But we can never sit there and say, let's not, do these anymore. It's like, I mean, to me, I mean, I'm family. My great grandfather was the son of a French slave owner. So am I supposed to just forget that and act like it never happened? No. So that's why I done Roots, and that's why I do these types of roles, because we still have to tell these stories. We're going to tell more stories. We're going to tell stories of, dynasties and everything else we used to do, but these stories are still relevant because these things are still happening today.
Well, I'm going to want you to welcome a young man. I had the privilege of meeting him on the Michael Collier morning show. He's actually local to me, Mobile, Alabama. And we're talking about being creative and sharing about the narratives of what we're dealing with racial injustices, with how do we handle telling the stories. You do it by being able to become the character, to help express, to help be able to share. You've also done some behind the scenes and no doubt working with things to in a directorial or executive producer status. So you're looking for content to be able to, get the narrative out there to deal with the social issues. This young man goes by the stage name Pap Star, and I'm going to bring him in. And because we're talking about, help me welcome Pap Star.
What's going on?
What's up? What's up?
How y'all doing? Honored to be on this platform with you all.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, honored.
Yeah, so he does a lot of work behind the scenes with men and mental health. So Pap Star, you were backstage listening to the various characters that Lucius has played.
Yes.
What were you thinking? You've had your own bout with dealing with men and mental health issues. You've had your own personal things. Kind of share with me from an audience perspective, watching the character. What were you thinking when you heard it?
When you say what was I thinking when I heard about the character, or what do you
Yeah, about the various characters that he portrayed, the mindset of the, you being a man, both of you being Black men today in society. I don't know, do you have your
Yeah, I would I mean, first off, I tip my hat off to Lucius. Any actor who's able to tap into to those different types of pain, even without having, because really you haven't even experienced some of those things as your ancestors did.
Right.
You never really been, sold on the market as a slave.
Right.
So to be able to tap into that and to dig deep down, I really commend you for that. I think that is an incredible skill, and not only a discipline of of your body, but the mental, your mind. I know that takes a strong mind to be able to do that. So yeah, my hat's off to you, brother. For sure. Yeah.
So for those men that are watching, maybe they're in music, and Pap Star, you share your situation. Share with everybody your bout with mental health.
Yeah, well, 2 years ago, I had a real rough go about it. I went through a divorce of my ex-wife. We were together for 11 years, like high school sweethearts. And also, I lost my youngest daughter. She was 11 months. She was completely healthy. She really didn't have any health problems, anything like that. But all of a sudden, she passed away on us. Had a virus that they couldn't tell that was in her heart. So we're thinking it possibly was COVID because it happened right before the pandemic really hit. So maybe she was one of the first. The doctors just didn't know what it was. They couldn't say what the virus was. So going through that, in the same year, man, it just really messed me up. I was like deep in the church at the time, like I was in ministry and stuff, and I kind of gave up on church and all that, and really tried to commit suicide, but I survived that, and I just had to make a choice, to either make the things that I've gone through like matter, or to just give up, and I just made the decision to make it matter, and to beat this thing. So I got real deep in self-development and start reading those books, like the Les Brown books and all those real encouraging books and stuff like that, and just really got into that. And I was like, yeah, this is what I need to be into, and just start painting my own life, the life that, how I wanted and the lifestyle I wanted to start living. Like I just start doing it, so I mean, look, man, I'm online right now, talking with guys like yourself, you know what I mean? Like, honestly, like, I mean, who can say they've done that? You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like, it's happening. So I'm just moving, just putting one foot in front of the other, and being fearless. Just kind of like what you talked about, man, being fearless.
Yeah. Well, let me commend you, my brother, because you were saying life can definitely throw some tremendous challenges at us, but you didn't remain a victim of it. You decided to come out on the other side of it and actually take some direction in your own destiny. So that says a lot too about what's going on up here.
Yeah,
because it happens here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited because I started the beginning of the year with a spiritual daughter of mine, LaShawn. She's also a gospel hip hop artist, and she did a lot of different events where they talked about mental health. And so about mental health and men and mental health. And I want to continue that narrative because I'm the mother of 2 Black sons. My oldest son will be, 32 this month. Look, don't hold it against me. And the youngest one will be 29. So, and because of everything that's going on, I'm always wondering, okay, what will they have to deal with these issues? You portray characters that not only it's crazy, but it's period era of happening in the 1950s, the 1800s or 1700s. But this treatment is still going on today. We're still dealing with that. And so for our black men, there's a way of it's almost like they're still trying to demasculate us, through the treatment of you. So I want to encourage individuals who have a creative spirit, whether you're an actor or a singer or a writer, to start these conversations. It's so important right now. And I'm going to say this because we're going to have to hop off, and we're going to continue this conversation over on Clubhouse. So if you're on Clubhouse, if you're watching this live and you have a Clubhouse account, make sure you follow us over there. We're going to get started. I shifted the time to 8:15, so we'll be good with getting on there. But we want to talk about being creative for change. And this is me, this is the era, again, I believe, of the new Black Reconstruction. We're having to go through, we had the 4 years of the Trump administration that didn't bring up new stuff. It just unearthed it, what was always still there, still there in that sense. So because of it, how do we deal with it? How do we bring about change, changing to where when we're doing these films, it's more to be reliving our history and not trying to get people to see this needs to stop. So before we head out and head over to Clubhouse, I want you to each leave our audience with why they need to come on over and continue a little deeper conversation, because we're going to talk about that, but also why they need to watch these films or listen to the songs like Pap Star, like you sing, you share about your struggles and stuff in your songs. And Lucius, you portray these characters and you look for content that's like that. Why do we need to continue this creatively? Lucius, you can go first. Lucius, I can't hear you. Let's see.
Excuse me. You can still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
All right.
All right, I'm there now.
There
It
you
looked
go.
like I disappeared for a minute.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Somebody tried to call and it almost booted me off.
Yeah, same happened
No,
to me
I
too.
know. Yeah, it's like no. So the thing is that we felt so long, especially in Hollywood and throughout history, that we have not been the writers of our history. We've been watching many untruths be told. We've actually watched ourselves, watch our history be totally swept under the rug in a lot of cases. So as creators, and especially at this time, because this is the first time that you've ever seen so many Black creators get plugged, and have a chance to do these things like Shonda Rhimes and Issa Rae and Ava DuVernay, and so many others to be able to tell our stories. So now is the time, us as creators, to tell our stories from our perspective, because we always had people telling our perspective, and we go, but that's not us. We're not the ones telling the story. So, how can it be? So that's the importance of it on my end, especially from the entertainment side of it, to make sure we keep moving forward with things like that. My next project that can't say too much about will also be delving in another historical fact about our contributions to society, which is usually things we aren't taught in school. If you ever notice, I'm part of a lot of projects, things that have not been taught to us in school, that you had to find out on the internet, or by the time you got to college, or on your own on YouTube. So
yeah. So don't go anywhere. Pap Star, why is it important for anybody that has a creative talent, whether it's singing or whatever, to be able to share what your struggles are?
Yeah, it's just deliverance in it. It's deliverance for other people, and really it's deliverance for yourself. I mean, your testimony is for the very purpose, is to help somebody else that could be going through the same thing or something similar. They say, hey, I can, if he did it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're about. Even with the app, the Mendable app. That's what I'm partnered with on Clubhouse, which is where we're about to go. I'm partnered with Sophia May and others, and we basically gather on Clubhouse and we let men talk about, vent and talk about anything they got going on. We do checks on each other. We check on, and we have anywhere between 1,000 to 500 people in there, men crying, telling that they never spoken to anyone, and just becoming free. That's what we're about. And we're not licensed professionals when it comes down to, we're not therapists, but what we do facilitate a safe place for people to talk. And we also have a mental health nurse that's always in there. So, yeah.
All right. So, Lucius, you have some a latest film that's starting on June the 9th. Can you tell us about that?
Loki's coming out on Wednesday. Yeah, so that's gonna be popping. So I'm a big Marvel comic book fan. So to be able to be part of that Marvel universe, pretty amazing stuff. I'm ecstatic.
Okay. Well, guys, I appreciate you, and I'm going to tell you, I want to thank everybody that has tuned in, and for those of you that will tune in again later, let's give these men a snap a round of applause for doing what they do, for being creative. And no, this is not the last time you're going to see them or talk to them. Who knows what kind of collaborations may come from out of this? Because you know how I am. I'm in techie and sci-fi and horror and all of that. So, you know, we don't know what may happen out of this. To keep telling these narratives, keep telling these stories. For those of you that are on Clubhouse, please head on over to Clubhouse. We're going to continue this storyline. I share the link on my page. And I appreciate you guys. I'm going to say peace out. We'll see you all in a little bit. And I'm going to leave you with a little kiss from a diamond. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for joining me in the first episode of the Coffee Shop Talk with your girl, with Shernita. Again, I appreciate you guys. Head on over to Clubhouse. We're going to take this conversation a little deeper. Of course, there's no video clip, so it's going to be all conversation. We got some amazing people that are coming in that are getting ready to join us. This is my first Clubhouse event, so where my peeps at? Y'all come on over. We're going to talk with Mr. Lucius Bastone again. We're going to have Gregory Finley, known as AKA Pap Star. My girl Peach Anda Dubose is going to be on there as well, and some other individuals. But I want to leave you with a little kiss from a diamond from my girl, Diamond Danny. You're going to start seeing her and more things on here with her. So let's leave out with a message from her.
I hope I've inspired you to go and be your best. And I hope I've encouraged you to be better than all the rest. And you will see it's just a matter of time. Your life will surely turn around. Yeah. For the better. I can promise you that. Just having a little fun. Be blessed. Love you.
So you've been kissed by a diamond. That was just a little touch. She's going to be sharing some amazing things. So we're going to leave out with my boy Pap Star as we get ready for Clubhouse.
I used to be down, but look at me now. Let your soul glow. Trip on the couch. I used to be down.